What's good, everybody? Back once again, and today, I guess a little bit something more close to my fandom, a little close to my me growing up, uh, and all these things. But uh, Melo retired, a couple days ago, and so and that's not the crushing part. That's not really what the crushing part, because he had a little hiatus, a few years ago, got back in the league, and then this year nothing. And I was like, at the first juncture, I was like, okay, is he? If they not gonna give him a shot, he ain't gonna get a shot, blah blah. He got in. This time around, I was like, I sort of knew it was at the end, because I'm like, you're old. I was like, you're old. That's at the point where they're sort of just like, all right, cool, we're done with you, and it can easily be on age, I guess. Um, you know, but I was like, so I'll say, like, can Carmelo still play? Yes. I think cause I think it's different than, like, for instance, like how Blake Griffin's on the Celtics. It's different to me than that, because I was like, I don't think I think if Blake Griffin's in the game for you, then it's like, who got hurt? Carmelo being in the game, I feel like, okay, cool. He give you 8 minutes, and let's just see if he got it going. Let's see if he's gonna be able to be open for a couple threes or whatever, something like that. Um, so I still think he could play, yet alone if he had to be on, like, the end of a bench or whatever. But I don't think he wants to do that. I think he knows that he could get, like, about, like, 10 minutes or so, like that. And if he can't get that, then there's no point in playing. And I was like, I understand that too, especially when you're sort of at this end and all this other stuff. What is more has been, I guess, it's been the questions and stuff that's been coming across of, like, like, is he gonna get his jersey retired? No, that's gonna be Jokic. I was like, ever since he left Denver, they've been having, like, a whole thing up about him, about how, about all that's like, oh, bump Melo and all the other stuff. And I was like, okay, cool, yeah, he was, like, your best player until basically recently. So I was like, they're not going to retire that. That's one reason why I don't really walk. I was like, I used to, like, I mean, yes, when Melo was there, I rocked with Denver, but I even rocked with Denver after that, when it was still like Iguodala, Kenneth Reed, Ty Lawson. Like, I still was rocking with the group or whatever a little bit after that. But I was like, now, I was like, I sort of feel like they are all humbug and Melo, screw them, whatever, in that situation. So that's been one thing. Another one is, and it's sort of what I was like, so we're watching the Dan Le Batard show, and it was basically Amin El Hassan, and it was Mike Ryan, and basically talking about Carmelo and him being overrated, and him, and he came out with, like a whole bunch of, like, black hole offense, can't win, ball hog, inefficient, and all this other thing. And then he was talking about how people just praise Carmelo and all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't know where he's been. I'm like, ever since Carmelo went to New York, Carmelo has been poo-pooed constantly. He has been, like, ran through the mud constantly. And my Ryan was just, it was just like weird. I'm like, you're saying all the points that a lot of people say in like media stuff that was back in the day, that I'm like, you're not really bringing anything. He was talking about, like, how he's like, he's not a winner, and I'm like, and in my head I'm like, how many people, like, actually win? He was like, he's an inefficient shooter, 44%. Don't tell me about he was all offense and he was, like, bad at defense. And I was like, he wasn't good at defense. I thought at moments he would try on defense like that. Like, the season they went to the conference final, he tried more on offense or whatever like that. That's where some of the numbers is like, the number's gonna be bad if you're not good at defense. But that doesn't mean that's like, when you can sort of, but when you watching the game, you can be like, no, he's trying on defense, or yeah, he let that one go or whatever. But one, I was like, and he kept on, like, like, me was trying to, like, tell him, like, no, he's, like, a really, like great player, and, top player and all the other stuff. And he's just like, oh, but he just, like, good at offense. I was like, and then I seen, like, somebody in the comments, I'm like, okay, how many people was in the top 75 or not because of their defense? It's not that many of them. It's really because of how well you score and your amount of points. And then you talk about the winning and the championship. And some of that even varies when we're talking about like top 75. But to be honest, I was like, in that draft class, I was like, wow, he might have been my favorite. I was like, it's LeBron, it's Wade, it's him. I was like, I guess there could be some type of back and forth with like maybe like Chris Bosh, but since he was with the Heat, you got to look at him a little bit differently in that. But I was like, he also threw out like him being an unofficial scorer, and then there was like Kobe, and he's like also somebody who was like overrated in scoring and all this stuff, but he had his moments and then championships, blah blah blah, and he was talking about how, and I'm like, and my thing is like, I'm not out here trying to say like Carmelo should be better than LeBron or Carmelo's better like this and that. That's sort of not what I'm saying. I'm saying is my thing is sort of like the hate that it was feeling like that like that like if like I'll try to put it in the thing of like their little like episode. But to me, that was really just hate, and not even saying like how people throw around like being a hater and all this other stuff. But I'm like, oh yo, you just sound like you just don't like him. He was like he basically LaMarcus Aldridge, and I'm like, there's no way he's LaMarcus Aldridge, not at all. Then he was trying to say he's like in the Paul George tier, and I was like, okay, I can see that, but as good as Paul George was on defense, he was like okay on offense. But I'm like, Carmelo was so great on offense in the defense of his defense that I was like, I still will choose Melo. And he was trying to make the comparison of like, oh, he was on that Knicks team that he couldn't get to and all this other stuff. And I'm like, versus Paul George that's in like the Pacers outfit. I'm like, Paul George had a cast of 6 people to try to battle the Heat. That's why it was a series versus Carmelo, where it's just Carmelo and J.R. Smith. If J.R. Smith is your second best player, you are working magic. You are working wonders. Not saying J.R. Smith's a bad player. That's not what it is. But J.R. Smith he's either like a 6-man type of dude, or as you've seen with the Cavs, you need somebody like LeBron. And then he had Kyrie. And then there was Kevin Love. So you had enough people also to where J.R. Smith being like your sixth guy, 5th guy, however you want to count it. Yes, that works a lot better. And then we also seen when J.R. Smith had to basically be number 2 in that other set of finals. You know, the one with the infamous like why didn't you go up the game tied situation against the Warriors? That I was like, got J.R. Smith so up and down. But to be honest, Carmelo never had. Man, I was like, J.R. Smith has like been with Carmelo nearly like most of his career because he went to Denver and he went to New York. But anyway, Carmelo's never had anybody that was either on the same level as Carmelo or somebody where like, you know, cause like that can make Carmelo be almost number 2, like a 1B or whatever. There's never been anything like that. You know, like he brought up like he was great in Olympics because he was able to take a role and it fits. And it's like, yeah, because on the Olympics team, there's main dude, there's LeBron on there. I'm like, there's Wade on there. I was like, KD there. There's like so many other people that I'm like, yeah, these players I can say is better than Melo, so therefore Melo is going to take a smaller role or whatever. I was like, he ain't have no choice but to be like the alpha with the Knicks. There ain't been nobody else to come through that could either like challenge him in a way or whatnot. Like when he went to OKC, he was just over here just griping like, I'm not coming off the bench, but he never was like, oh, like I'm about to be above Westbrook and Paul George in this situation. That's not where he was at in that situation. He trying to make, I was like, Mike trying to make the case that he's also like Billups and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, Billups was not on the level of Carmelo either. Um, like Carmelo shouldn't even be like a Hall of Famer. I was like, that's ridiculous. I was like, first of all, it's the NBA Hall of Fame. You get in there a lot easier than anywhere else. But I'm like, no. I was like, he pretty much took the Nuggets to the playoffs every year his career, and then I was like, and then for the Knicks, I was like, he did for a while there was like decent talent. And then after a while, it was just really just Carmelo, and that was just it, and there was nothing else. And as far as like, like I still feel like everybody just like butt hurt over that trade. Where it's like I'm like, how that first of all, that trade's no different than how people do trades now. So therefore, it's crazy that like I understand the visceral that he got at that time, but if you're still mad at that now, I don't understand that now when I'm like normally with an extra amount of knowledge, you're a lot better at going back in the past and like reanalyzing a lot of this stuff and being like, oh, no, that's about right. Well, if you knew that dude would have wanted to go, he wanted to leave, then yeah, you go ahead. Like I get it, like that like if they would have just waited to the end of the season, it would have been a lot better when they could have kept some of the pieces or whatnot. But he still had a pretty good crew. You can't help that Amari basically, knees started getting like shot at that same time where it was just Carmelo battling all these teams by himself, um, and whatnot. But I was like the killing of Melo. I feel like that if you really aren't like a media like member of especially of that time, I really don't understand. I was like, I don't get it because I'm like there ain't nothing to be mad about. Like I was like, I mean, we always come in and think all these dudes gonna win championships. No, that doesn't happen. Normally championships are really just won by like maybe like three or so four players in like a certain amount of time. I'm like, I mean, kind of like thinking like Curry got five, right? No, he got four. He got four. My bad. Um, my bad, everybody. Yeah, cause he got two. Yeah, he got four, and uh, LeBron has five, and yeah, three. No, he has four. Jesus, what is up with me and five today? He has four. So, so I'm like, boom. That's like I was like that's like eight right there. Kawhi, I was like Kawhi got two, mixed with like couple of Tim Tim Duncan's other four. So I'm like so I'm like there's that like for like you really only have a certain amount span of who was going to win championship in and out. I was like Giannis got one where we thought he might have two or three by now. Um, we'll see how the thing go with like Jokic and stuff. But no, I was like it pretty like you pretty much got like three teams that dominate pretty much the time where you're like, oh, okay, gonna be within this amount of superstars, and then you might get lucky where once like Steph and LeBron, these crazy superstars always there. Then one pops up, I was like, oh, this is Detroit. Oh, I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, but yeah, so it was never that he had his chance. I was like, guess what he ran up against? Kobe. So we could be looking at a totally different thing if he would have went to the finals instead. I don't see the same thing of like necessarily with Harden, because I feel like Harden's in the same boat or whatever. Crazy score and then don't deliver. What I was like, you're going to come across a lot of this with a lot of people that I'm like, guess what? They're going to make the Hall of Fame. They're going to be in the top 75, and just because you have like some small gripes about stuff that seem like it really like your argument's not really being built any further than you think it is, then just be like, then you saying a whole bunch of stuff, and then you're just like, oh, but the numbers, and it's like that's where you rely on the numbers way too much instead of just actually seeing Carmelo play and how playing back then and the time that he was in and that the way that he played ball was how people sort of wanted. And then as the league changed, and there's LeBron at the same time. So guess what? Now you're sort of doing away with that person. But also, when you have a person like that, you need to build a team better around a person like that. Like LeBron, you can sort of build a team a little bit differently because he shares the ball in a way different way. I was like Wade. I was like he was phenomenal too. But guess what? You also gave him sort of a certain way. I was like with Melo, it was just like, hey, here's some players. Good job. Good luck. Have fun. That's really what it was. And to me, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You got somebody like Carmelo. You need to get like a couple of defensive players and another. I was like, that's what sort of worked with. That's sort of what worked with Denver is that they had defensive players like Camby and then Nay. Pretty sure Camby was still there. I was like, but Billups, I was like, could control the game. He was, I was like, hit shots when he needs to. I was like, J.R. Smith, wild offensively, whatnot. I was like, you did. I was like, anyway, that was just my rant. I was like, it was just really, it was really more off of that than another one that was talking about like his like jersey getting retired. That one sort of just seems like that's what it is. This I was like with this one where it was just like Carmelo shouldn't even be like anywhere near basketball or I was like why everybody talking about him in such a positive way. They're doing that now because at the end of his career is over. That's what people do. They talk about you good at the beginning, they dog you out in the middle if you ain't doing what they want, and then at the end, then they sort of give you a freaking flower a little too late at that point. Cause then, cool, we don't have to see you anymore, so let's do it now. But no, he deserves. He don't deserve to go out this way, but it is what it is. But I was like, but his career is good enough to be in the top 75. That's how I see it. Anyway, liked any of my rant here? I appreciate it. Thanks. If not, hey, maybe next time. But until then, peace. I'm out. Mellow.